we are asked to believe that now, because of this pressure, that these global leaders are going to help Africa, and the organization orchestrating this help is the World Bank and the IMF, when the World Bank is headed by Paul Wolfowitz, who was one of the architects of a document that talks of developing biological weapons that can target specific genotypes. This may transform biological warfare from the realm of terror to a politically useful tool. Bob Geldof, mate, wake freaking up, please. And then the next stage of this was the G8. Now, what this did, it was in Scotland. It got these world leaders together in England in that week at the right time to react to the terrorism. The next thing that happened was that London was given the Olympic Games for 2012, a key year in the Illuminati agenda, not least because it's terrified what's going to happen after it in terms of the wake-up. And when they first announced that London, this is years ago now, was going to go for the 2012 Olympics, I said to my friends, it's a bloody certainty. London, major centre globally of the Illuminati, 2012 Olympics. Oh, you kidding? They're bound to get it. Oh, it was very close with Paris. No way. They were always going to get it. And so London then was absolutely a joyful, great scenes of celebration. And one of the most effective ways of affecting people emotionally, a trauma type way, is to have a big high and then smack them down. And so you had this great relation. 24 hours later came the London bombs on 7/7/7. And it was the most obvious setup you will ever see. Someone sent this to our website. It's interesting how the bombs kind of went off in a pyramid. I mean, these, it would sound fantastic, really, but these guys really do go for this sort of stuff. And interestingly, again, the symbolism, the bus, the number 30, which was diverted from its route as a result of the underground bombs, and it went off route. On the side of it was an advertisement for a movie. And what the advertisement said was, outright terror, bold and brilliant. And some people have contacted me who work for London Transport, and they are desperately skeptical about the official story. But because of the way the week was orchestrated, there were the world leaders and Blair and Bush all ready to react in the desired fashion to bring about the solution to the problem. My goodness. And then we had the same scenes. We had scenes of people trying to find missing people, just like after 9/11. And then we had the celebration, the end of the week, or the commemoration of the Second World War, in which the whole London bombing thing was brought in, true Brit. It's like the Blitz spirit. In other words, when we are under threat, get behind the authorities. The authorities protect us. We must come together. Don't let's call Blair the bloody liar he is, and we knew he was before. Now let's move. And this is the BBC security correspondent who actually said something very true. What they did, talking of hijackers' passports, these were bombers who apparently were the suicide bombers or people involved with the bombs. Their documents were all on them, so the police could find out who they were in absolutely no time. And as this BBC security correspondent said, I do think it very strange that they were able to find these documents belonging to these bombers. Maybe they thought they were going to paradise, so it didn't really matter, but it allowed the police to trace where they came from very quickly. It's a strange thing to do. Well, not if you didn't know you were going to do it. Not if you were part of an exercise, maybe, and you thought you were part of an exercise, and then before it was too late, you realised what it was really part of. Bang! This is from an Australian newspaper. I love it. And make sure you've got your identity cards to be found after the bombs go off. Although they're now denying it, this guy, Benjamin Netanyahu, former Israel Prime Minister and still a major political figure in Israel, he was warned not to go to a hotel near the first bomb where he was due to make a speech, and stayed in his hotel. How did they know that? And then, on the day of the bombings, the Jerusalem Post published an article by this guy, Ephraim Halevi, former head of Mossad. This is what he wrote in his article. This is on the day the bombs went off. The multiple simultaneous explosions that took place today on the London transportation system were the work of perpetrators who had an operational capacity of considerable scope. They have come a long way since the two attacks of the year 1988 against the American embassies in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam and the aircraft actions September the 11th, 2001. There was careful planning, intelligence gathering, and a sophisticated choice of timing, as well as near-perfect execution. We are faced with a deadly and determined adversary who will stop at nothing and will persevere as long as he exists as a fighting terrorist force. Simultaneous bombs. The London police announced on the day of the bombings that the bombs went off over a period of 51 minutes. It was 2 days later before they called a news conference and said, we've now established the bombs were simultaneous. How does this bugger know, former head of Mossad, they were simultaneous on the day of the bombing? We have another exercise on our hands. BBC interviewed on the day of the bombings a guy who runs a consultancy company, a guy called Peter Power, and he said that he was staggered because he ran this crisis management company that was doing an exercise that morning to do an exercise on a terrorist event, a fake mock-up, at exactly the same places that the bombs went off in reality that day. He said the only difference between what happened and what their exercise scenario was doing was that in their scenario, the bombs were simultaneous and not, as the police are saying, over a period of 50 minutes. 2 days later, like I say, the police announced, no, they were simultaneous. So in every single facet and detail, what happened in reality was what that exercise was doing. What if those guys were part of the exercise and then didn't realize until it was too late that they were carrying the real thing? This is why I have to bloody laugh. I have to laugh. It's just so pathetic. Websites like mine and others, and Alex Jones and many others, have been asking simple questions. If they were suicide bombers, why did they buy return rail tickets from Luton to London? Why, when they parked their car in the station car park at Luton, did they put enough time on to come to London and then get back without getting fined? Why did they do that? They were suicide bombers. Now, of course, holes starting to appear. People are going, what we've now done is the authorities have said, well, we're not sure now if they were suicide bombers. We think that maybe, because of course they bought return rail tickets and that, maybe they're Al-Qaeda controllers just didn't want them to survive in case they cracked if they were arrested and told of everyone else. So maybe they didn't realize that the bombs were going to go off when they did. That's why they brought them to see. The paper's going, oh, yeah, that's probably... No, you're being used, darlings, to cover the obvious holes in the story, but you can't see it. Oh, my God, it's pathetic. It's repeating. We're in a time where people are being picked off. Divide and rule. Okay, let's focus on the Islams. Oh, he's got a beard. He's dangerous. Oh, let's focus on these. Let's focus on that. Oh, look, homeless. Yeah, they're always into crime. All this being picked off. And oh, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. And it reminds me of this very famous statement by this pastor, an anti-German activist, anti-Nazi activist rather, who said, first I came for the Jews and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the communists and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for me and by then there was no one left to speak out for me. That is what they are seeking to do to us.